Hello, everybody, and welcome to Inside William & Mary's School of Marine Science at the Virginia Institute of Marine Science, our three-part webinar series all about VIMS, the School of Marine Science, and all the wonderful things that we do here. Tonight, you're joining us for part 3, our last part of our webinar series, all about navigating the application process. My name is John Griffin, and I am the Assistant Director for Admissions and Student Affairs here at the School of Marine Science. I'm really excited for tonight's program. One, because in my role, I'm very focused on admissions and applications and thinking about it and helping students wherever I can, but also because I have a wonderful panel set up for you all to hear from tonight. It's a really great group of faculty and students who have a lot of insight into what makes a successful application to a graduate program, and then in what ways are faculty reviewing applications and making those admission decisions on that end. So all in all, I think it's going to be a wonderful conversation we'll have tonight. And I'm very appreciative of everybody in the audience for taking some time out of your day or from your evening to join us in this way and to learn a little bit more about the School of Marine Science here at VIMS. Before I hand it off to my wonderful panelists, you get to listen to me talk for just a little bit longer about some of the details about VIMS and our school. So the first thing that everybody should be aware of is that we here at VIMS are a part of William & Mary. We're one of William & Mary's 5 graduate schools, actually. William & Mary is located in Williamsburg, Virginia, but we here at VIMS are actually located in Gloucester Point, Virginia, which is about a 20 to 30-minute drive away from that main campus. However, as you can see from this larger photo, we get to be located right on the York River, which is the most ideal location to be at for anybody who's passionate about marine and coastal ecosystems. So very thankful for our very gorgeous institution. As for some of the student numbers that you might be wondering about in regards to the student body here at VIMS, we have on average about 85 graduate students enrolled in the School of Marine Science at any one time. We're one of the largest marine science research institutes in the US, and this means that we have a very productive and healthy graduate population always here on campus, making it sure that this is a lively community in which to be a part of. For those of you who are planning to apply or thinking about applying, every year we welcome an incoming cohort of anywhere from 14 to 31 students, and all of our students come in the fall for that incoming cohort. So if you are thinking of joining us in fall 2022, just know that you'll probably be amongst a cohort of students anywhere from 14 to 31. That also means that of all the applications that we receive each year, we have an acceptance rate of about 30%. So just something to be conscious of as you are working on your applications. So now, what do we here at VIMS and the School of Marine Science offer our graduates in terms of our degree programs? We offer 3 separate degree programs. We offer a professional MA in marine science, which is a master's degree designed for students to enter the workforce as marine science professionals. This program is very intentionally developed to support those students who want to learn and engage with marine science and then translate it, but who are not wanting to do so much time in the lab or in the field. These are students who want to have careers outside of graduate school in areas like law and policy or business, education, outreach, science communication, things like that. And so this is a very experiential learning based degree program. And so the culmination of the professional MA is the capstone project in the internship. It's a wonderful degree program that does a lot of good in our community. So very proud of that. And you'll hear a lot more from one of our panelists about this tonight. Alternatively, we have what we call our research track, and this is our MS and our PhD in marine science. So these tracks are really designed for students who are wanting to pursue high intensity research focused marine science careers at an advanced level. So this is for the students who want to come to VIMS and spend a lot of their time in the lab or in the field, and then taking that research they're doing and working on publications and then writing up for like grants and fellowships, things like that. Also on this track, we have what we call the MS bypass option. And this is for anybody who's wanting to apply here who does not already possess a master's degree, but is knowing that they want to gain that PhD program. That's the end goal that they have in mind, and they're not all that interested in the MS degree. So you can come in as a bypass student, and at the end of your second year, you can take exams and work towards bypassing that MS requirement, and then you would enter into the PhD program. So that is an option for those of you who are interested in it. And the culmination of the MS and the PhD is a thesis and a dissertation. Another thing that you need to be aware of for these separate degree tracks is that they also have very different admissions components and review processes. If you were planning to apply for our research-based tracks, which is the MS bypass, or the PhD, you're not just applying to VIMS and earning admissions from VIMS in the School of Marine Science, you're also applying to join the lab and the research team of your VIMS faculty advisor. And so what that means for you is that you need to be reaching out to prospective advisors here at VIMS before you apply or while you apply to make sure that they are looking to recruit students this year. And then also, if they are looking to recruit, what kind of projects are they working on? Are those projects of interest to you? Do they align with kind of where you want to go and what you see yourself doing in your career? And because what I'll tell you is that some faculty recruited students last year or plan on recruiting students next year, and maybe at this time aren't really working on any specific research project or looking to recruit a student this year. So even if it might be a faculty advisor that you're really interested in, there might just not be the opportunity. So it's in your best interest to reach out to that faculty member now or early to discover whether or not they are looking to recruit. And so an admission decision for anybody who's looking to apply and be accepted into these tracks, you need to be accepted into your prospective advisor's research program, as well as you need to be accepted by the Associate Dean of Academic Studies into the School of Marine Science. So that's your acceptance and admissions pathway to be aware of. Whereas individuals applying for the professional MA in marine science program, you are applying for open admissions to the School of Marine Science. You do not need to reach out to an advisor beforehand. You don't even need to identify an advisor in your application. What's going to happen is that the MA program director is going to use your application material, so your letters and your statements, to better identify what type of VIMS faculty mentor would be a good fit for you. And the VIMS faculty mentor is going to help you make class decisions for what to enroll in, as well as help you with that capstone and that internship project. So an admission decision for students in the MA track is you need to gain admissions into the MA program, which is reviewed by the MA program director. And then finally, the Associate Dean of Academic Studies is the one who would make an offer of admissions. So what goes on in the application? What are the nuts and bolts? The first thing that everybody needs to be aware of is that the application is open right now and will close on January 5th. So the first crucial step is to please make sure that you get that application submitted by January 5th, because the application reviews by faculty and by the MA program director is going to happen right away once that closes. So please make sure that you get that in on time. Application components that you should be aware of is that you need to have completed a bachelor's degree from an accredited institution by the time you enroll. So at the moment, you need to have completed that bachelor's by the start of the fall 2022 semester. At this time, we'll need to receive transcripts from previous institutions where you earned your degrees, and they can be unofficial at this time. Any international applicants will need to upload TOEFL or IELTS scores unless you obtained your previous degrees or pursued your education at an institution where English was the primary language of education. Also, we need every applicant to submit a resume or CV. And then we require a statement of purpose and a statement of contribution. And then there's an optional personal statement which you can submit. We require 3 letters of recommendation submitted for every applicant. And then finally, there's an application fee of $54. However, I will say that there are a number of application fee waivers available. So please make sure you review those options on either the website or on the application itself, because if you meet any of those requirements, I would love to review your application and provide you with that fee waiver. It's one of my favorite things to do. So please make sure you request that if it is available. We're going to dive a little bit into the differences in the application materials. And the first thing that I really want you to be aware of, and this is a main area in the application that distinguishes the MA track from the research track, is that they have different required statements of purpose prompts. So the MA prompt is really focused on you explaining kind of who you are from like a scientific, curricular, and professional experiences background, and why that makes you a good candidate for this degree track. And then also we want you to talk a little bit about like what areas of interest that you have and you kind of want to develop further in the capstone and internship experience. You don't need to have really grounded and concrete goals at this time. We recognize that that's always shifting, but having an area or areas that you are interested in will help us determine your faculty mentor. Individuals applying for the MS bypass or the PhD, you have a very specific prompt where we are wanting you to talk about your previous experiences in marine science, especially in the areas of like academia or research, and how that's going to contribute to your professional interest here at VIMS. So please make sure that you are fully aware of what degree you are pursuing and then matching the statement of purpose to that degree. That's a really critical part of the review process. Next is the statement of contribution. This is another required statement. It's a much shorter statement, and it's all about you providing us with a lot more context about you as an individual and what qualities and characteristics you possess that you would bring to the School of Marine Science that would really enhance our graduate program and our community as a whole. And this can be on a whole host of different topics. So please make sure you review that statement prompt, reflect a little bit, and then provide us with a great summary. And then finally, we have our optional personal statement. There is no word limit set on this, so please just make sure if you have additional context that you want to provide us with to better understand you and maybe the academic journey or professional journey that you've been on, some of the values or goals you have for yourself, challenges faced, or any other things like that. This is a great area to put that in so that we get to understand who you are a little bit better as an applicant. We do require those 3 letters of recommendation, and it's really important for those letters to come from individuals who can speak about you on a very personal level. Individuals who have seen you succeed in ways or had successes, or you can speak about kind of your interests in the future. It really does you no good if the person who's writing your letter doesn't know you that well. So think carefully. And then also, please make sure you start requesting your letters of recommendation early in the process. We would love for them to be submitted to the application by the close date because, as I said, we start reviewing almost immediately. So any letters that are missing from your application can impact your overall review. So it's never too early to start requesting those. And then finally, GRE scores. GRE scores are not required for admissions here to the School of Marine Science. We do not use them in our evaluations of applications, and you can't even submit them to our website. Some faculty who are accepting MS or PhD students may have an interest in seeing GRE scores if you have them, but that is between you and the faculty. So make sure you reach out and see whether or not they have any interest in seeing those. And any individuals here who are planning on applying for the MA program, we do not need to see GRE scores, so you do not need to worry about that. And with that, I get to introduce the wonderful panel that I have arranged for you tonight. So today, you're going to hear from Paul Clerkin, who's a current VIMS PhD student, Allison Hall, who's a current MS student here at VIMS, and then we'll get to hear from Dr. Molly Mitchell, who's a VIMS alum, and she is now a research assistant professor as well as our MA program director. And then we'll get to hear from Dr. BK Song, who's a VIMS professor as well as the chair of the admissions committee. It's going to be a really great conversation. So with that, I would like to welcome Allie Hall to come and join me up here on the screen and say hi to everybody and tell them a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Allie, as John just mentioned. I am a second-year master's student. Hopefully, will soon be joining the bypass program here at VIMS. I am originally from Maryland, and I got my undergraduate degree from Stony Brook University. I have known for quite some time that I wanted to get a PhD in marine science, and so I applied for graduate school while still in undergrad and went straight into a graduate program. I applied to a number of different graduate schools and ended up selecting VIMS against the other offers that were offered to me for a variety of different reasons that I would be happy to go into more should the question arise. But one of the main reasons I selected VIMS was the focus on applied research and the dedication to communicating the scientists done at VIMS, not only to the public, but to the people that use it, including managers and policymakers. That interest led me to join the lab that I'm part of here at VIMS. So I'm a student under Dr. Chris Patrick in the Coastal and Estuarine Ecology Lab and the SAB monitoring program. My thesis will be about the seagrasses here in the Chesapeake Bay and exploring how climate change might impact the ecosystem services that those seagrasses provide. So looking at things like carbon sequestration. I think that is a pretty good intro for me at this time, but I'm really excited to hear your questions. So please don't be shy if you have any that you think I could help answer. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Allie. All right, and with that, I would love to welcome Paul Clerkin to come join me up here on screen and say hi to everybody, Paul.
Hi, everybody. I'm Paul Clerkin. I'm a second-year PhD student in the fisheries department. I'm going to be studying deep sea sharks. I've had kind of a atypical school experience. I went to a community college for 7 years, which is a long time for a 2-year college, and I dabbled in a lot of classes before doing my undergrad in upstate New York. Then I took some time off. I was working in Alaska for a bit on the fishing boats, and then I started my my master's at Moss Landing Marine Labs, and that took me 7 years. And then I took some more time off. I traveled, I did some research, and so now I'm finally at VIMS, working on my PhD. I'm hoping to continue some of the deep sea work I've done with sharks, and maybe make it a little bit more robust, include some genetics and some environmental DNA stuff. So yeah, I've been a student for a long time, and I've enjoyed it most of the way. And yeah, so I'm very happy to be here at VIMS working on my PhD.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Paul. And when you say you traveled, you didn't just like travel, you like really traveled. You were all over the world.
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
All right. Well, thank you. All right. So with that, I would like to introduce Dr. Molly Mitchell. So Molly, would you please come join me up here on the screen?
Hi, everyone. I'm Molly Mitchell. I'm the director of the MA program is really why I'm here. I also work for the Center for Coastal Resource Management, and I'm a member of the biology department. So I just want to tell you a little bit about my background and why I am so excited about the MA program, and then tell you a little bit about what we are looking for in MA students. So I came to VIMS actually directly out of undergrad, and I graduated with my MS. But during that time that I was at VIMS, I actually did something very unusual for VIMS students at the time. I did internships, and so I interned with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, USGS, and the National Park Service. That was really important experience for me. I did not intend to go on for a PhD at that point. And out in the job world there, I'm more interested in what you've done than what classes you've taken. So those internships provided me with experience and also with actual products that I could point to that I'd worked on. After graduating, I worked for one of the local government's environmental divisions. And then I returned to VIMS in a research and advisory role. And then I went back and eventually decided I wanted to get my PhD. And so I got my PhD at VIMS. But I've always had a very interdisciplinary kind of career. So I do a lot of field research, but I also do a lot of advisory work. And I work with state and local governments on a lot of different issues, right now mostly related to climate change and community resilience. So this kind of broad reach of science is really, really important and interesting to me. And this is what we're trying to get at with the MA program. So in the MA program, what we're looking for in students is students who want that background in marine science. And VIMS is a really, really good school of marine science. You'll get a really great background in the across disciplines in marine science. So physical oceanography, geology, biology, chemistry, fisheries, like the whole spectrum. So you want that background, but then you want to take it and actually apply it in an educational setting, working for museums, working for nonprofits, advocacy settings, or policy and legal roles. So we are trying to bring in the other side of it. And so we don't have one profile for a student because they could be interested in any discipline in addition to marine science. So any kind of outside discipline. And so we're excited to have a variety of students. We have 7 students this year. This is our first year of the program. And they all have different backgrounds and they have different interests, and they're doing some really exciting projects. So we are looking to add to that next year and even to broaden it and bring in some new interests.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Molly. I look forward to continuing this conversation with you. And so with that, I'd like to welcome the final panelist to introduce himself. So BK.
Thank you, John. Thank you everyone joining this evening. My name is BK Song. I'm a professor of marine microbiology and biogeochemist. I'm a faculty member at the Biological Science Department, like Molly Mitchell. And also my research focusing on to the microbiomes in marine animal and organism, and as well as the studies in biogeochemical carbon and nitrogen cycle. And I have been in VIMS for 9 years. And before I became a faculty member at VIMS, I was a faculty member at UNC Wilmington at 8 years. Overall, getting about 20 years being in faculty in academia. And I have mentored, I think I mentored 17 graduate students. Actually, those are graduated, and 10 were, actually 16, 10 were master students and 6 were PhD students. And currently I mentor 5 graduate students in my lab right now. And I'm also, as John mentioned, I'm a chair of admission committee. We are reviewing all the application material you guys sending. And I'm more than welcome to have any question about review process if you have. Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, BK. I look forward to having you here and to chatting a little bit more with you. So with that, I'd like to ask that all of my panelists come back and join me up here on screen, and we can get started with a few questions that I have for you all. And for everybody here in the audience, please do not be shy. If there are questions that you have that you're interested in having an answer to, don't hesitate to put that in the Q&A bar. We're completely here to help answer whatever questions are really in the back of your mind. So don't hesitate. But I think where I want to start is I want to first ask our students here. Allie, Paul, I'm not sure who wants to go first, maybe Paul, but what were the admissions processes like for getting into graduate school? What was your experience like in applying and then enrolling here? And since you went somewhere else for your master's and then came here, I would love to hear your story in that area.
Okay, yeah, sure. So I went to community college and my undergrad, then master's in here. And you think I would get like better with the application process over time? And I don't think that's the case. I think, it's just different each time. But I think getting comfortable with using your resources is important, because I'll spend a lot of time overthinking parts of the application and not knowing. And it's easy to reach out to people. I emailed you a lot during the application process, especially with some of the confusing things about having a lot of different transcripts and different parts like that. But I think although it is like always kind of intimidating to start the large thing, the best thing to do is just to start doing it, and ask for help. There's a lot of online resources too for the different things. But yeah, I remember I didn't know where to start for a lot of the writing, and by the end, you're trying to cut down your word count, and yeah, it's kind of intimidating to start, but the overall process is not as terrible as I thought it was going to be.
Allie, do you have any thoughts or opinions on what your application and admission decision was like? Because you came right out of undergrad here to VIMS. So what was that application system like and that transition like?
Yeah, thank you. Applications to graduate schools are stressful, and they're stressful, especially while you're in undergrad still taking classes. But it's so exciting because you have essentially, even if you know you want to do marine science, I didn't apply to a single lab that was studying the same species or even the same system outside of marine science in some cases. So while it can be stressful, you have all these deadlines, you have to coordinate, unique and like personal different application essays and get letters of recommendation for all of these. It's really exciting because you have this world of possibilities in front of you, and you don't yet know which one you're going to choose, if any, like what happens the next spring semester when you hear back decisions. I think the most important thing is to remain organized. I heavily utilized Google Sheets and had a color coding system, a tab for every school, the people I was thinking of applying to, and to just email those faculty members. It can feel intimidating. I made drafts of emails and had my friends proofread them. I had my current research mentor proofread them so I didn't come off too strong or got everything I needed to across. Just be organized and go for it, because the sooner you can start communicating with those potential PIs, the better your application is going to be in the long run, because you know what both of you expect from each other.
Yeah, you bring up a great point. And just for everybody in attendance, the PI is also like in reference to the faculty advisor, just if anybody is confused. So I'm wondering if on that, in keeping with the students here, Paul and Allie, could you talk a little bit about what it was like reaching out to faculty? Like, how did that search go? And like the communications with faculty, what did you feel like worked as a tactic for talking to faculty and in that search process? Because that's a whole extra layer of admissions.
Yeah, that is a great question, since we just brought it up. So my email, essentially, I mentioned I had a lot of drafts going back and forth, but I kind of followed a formula. So you want to say hello. I explained that I was looking, first and foremost, asked if they were accepting students for the next funding cycle, or the next cycle, if they had funding, if you're going to research track, if you're looking at faculty advisors, for example. And then you don't want to make it too long. People are busy, they have other things to read, but you want to get across who you are, your current research interests, maybe most important, what drew you to their lab. So why are you emailing this faculty member as opposed to any faculty member at that school, or even larger, any other faculty member at any research institution. And then I always attached my CV to include the things that maybe I didn't want to bog down in the email, but I still wanted to shine and like let through my other research experiences and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's really that's a good description. I think yeah, reach out, give them some information about you, what you've done, what you're interested in doing, and then put a link in there why you're applying to their lab. You don't want it to be completely unrelated. And then yeah, I also attached my CV. Be polite, put on the information, but you don't want it to go on too long, because nobody wants to open their email and have to read a gigantic email. So yeah, try to keep it to the point, and if they want more information, there's a CV, and then hopefully they follow up. I've found you get a better response if you especially if you like know them, or know if you have a common acquaintance, like if I have heard of them through somebody else or something like that. It's always good. And then also and a lot of professors have told me not to be shy to email more than once. When professors are very busy, and when it comes to time to to start thinking about this kind of thing, they get a lot of emails, and they don't mean to let some fall through the cracks. But I've heard people say email 3 times, and I have had to email again, and that's when people respond, because the first time they didn't, and sometimes they respond right away. They meant to, and then they went home and it was marked as read, and they didn't get back to it. And also it's probably pretty good to start early. I've started a lot of projects late, and you never regret starting it earlier.
Paul and Allie, you all really did an amazing job on answering that question. I couldn't say it better myself, so thank you. I have one last question for the students. So Molly and BK, I haven't forgotten about you. We'll get to you in a minute, but just to kind of like wrap up this conversation, it's asked in the chat by Quinn, but I also would love to hear from both of you. If you can talk a little bit more about why you chose VIMS over other programs. So Allie, do you want to start and then Paul?
Sure. I feel like I could talk for quite a while. Why I chose VIMS, I spent many nights talking to my college friends about which option would be best for me. But to narrow it down maybe into three main points, the first, which I already touched on, was that VIMS was so focused on applied science, and that was incredibly important to me. Growing up in a coastal community in Maryland, who, my neighbors were watermen, people who lived and got their money from being on the water, I knew I wanted to always do applied research that would immediately go back to management or policy in some way. And so sometimes you have to think, what can you offer the university, but also what can the university offer you? And VIMS can offer a lot if you're really interested in applied science. My second reason was the amazing conversations I had when I was invited to interview here at VIMS. It's a tiring couple hours talking to what seems like rapid fire, all these different VIMS faculty and VIMS staff. But they left a lasting impression on me. I was like, everyone's happy to be here and I want to be happy to be here too. So look forward to those if you do end up having conversations with faculty, or reach out to people if you want to have conversations with them regardless. And then my final reason, which is probably most important, was the package and relationship I had from my advisor, Dr. Patrick. So if I hadn't connected with his lab, I requested to speak to his graduate students early as well, and kind of chat with them about their experiences with him as an advisor and their time at VIMS. And if I hadn't had the connection that I had with Dr. Patrick and the lab as a whole, or thought I really jive in our lab, then I probably wouldn't have selected coming here. So all three of those were major factors for me.
Yeah, so when I was wrapping up my master's degree, I was trying to figure out where to go for a PhD. And I don't, I think for a lot of this, not only did I not know, but I didn't know how to know. So I would just ask, I would go, this was 2018 mostly, and I was going to some conferences, and I would just ask my friends, I'm like, how do I know where to go? And it was also, their answers weren't they weren't very concrete. They're like, oh, you find somebody who has a research interest and blah, blah, blah. But I was really interested in VIMS because VIMS has a great reputation in the marine world, and also in the shark world. A lot of the people go around and they have their little badges and they say where they're from. And I'd seen VIMS a lot of the successful shark people have gone to VIMS. So that was real high on my list. And then also, it's related with William and Mary, which is an excellent school. So I started reaching out and talking to people, and so VIMS has a lot of great opportunities for research and facilities. I'm really hoping to be able to kind of beef up, my master's was in taxonomy, which is interesting but pretty low tech. And so I'm really excited to be here and be able to take advantage of some of the opportunities to learn this stuff. And also, like Ali said, the people here are suspiciously nice. I came out here and I'm like, why is everyone so nice? And even the first couple of months when we were here, still during lockdown, but everyone was very generous with their time and helping people. And we're on lockdown. I got a little welcome gift basket my first semester here because we couldn't meet in person. So it's a very, very pleasant place to be.
I love that. Thank you both so much. All right, so Molly and BK, I hope you're ready for some questions. So we have a question here from Amy about what are some of the aspects you look for when you are reviewing applications. So BK, I see you've unmuted, so I think you're ready to go. So do you want to talk a little bit about what you look for in applications that you're reviewing for your lab, as well as the chair of the admissions committee? What stands out to faculty as they're reviewing applications?
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so Allison and Paul did a great job for how they initiate the process. That's exactly the first step to think about. So when you're applying the VIMS, as John mentioned, you are not just admitting the School of Marine Science, also admitting to joining one of the research group at VIMS. So you need to contact the lead PI, the faculty member, your potential advisor, and see how your research interests align with the faculty's research component activity. And so that's the first step you have to do. So that's the same way when you're submitting your application, you also indicate who will be your potential advisor. And also when you're writing your personal statement, you'll also mention that who will be your potential advisor and what kind of research you're looking into it. So that's one component you have to mentioning and see when you're writing your personal statement, and that's how we can see. And of course, there's a multiple components involved in the application material. You have GPA and also the letter of recommendation and also personal statement. Now we have 3 different statements having it. So we also review all of them together. And one thing also your resume as well. And one thing we're also looking into your research experience, how much of the research experience you have, and also how you clearly writing out your interest and the way how you express your interest in VIMS and research program as well. So there's multiple components involved. The most important aspect is first step is to contact your potential advisor and initiate the dialogue first, and then see how your research, how your interest is aligned with research program you're looking for. Molly, if you want to add something, you can do that too.
Yeah, so I'm just going to contradict a bunch of what you said, BK, just for the MA program, though.
That's
so
right.
BK is like 100% on for the MS and PhD.
That's right.
For the MA program, do not start by contacting faculty. We don't do the admissions that way. And don't put specific faculty in your letters or in your essays. Okay, so put your interests. But what we're really looking for in the essays is something detailed, specific, and honest about you and your interests. We'd like to see enthusiasm for marine science, but all the essays we get are enthusiastic about marine science. That's why you all are applying to School of Marine Science. So we're looking to learn more about you. Why are you interested in coming? What is this particular things that fascinate you and interest you? That not only allows us to get to know you, it also allows us to match you up with faculty that will be appropriate capstone mentors for you. So that's really what we're looking for in the essay. The letters of recommendation are also really important. They are a little different from the MA, again, from the MS and PhD perspective, because the MA perspective, we are less interested. We like academic letters from academic people, but we are not necessarily looking for that. We are looking for people who know you really well. So we'd rather get a letter from someone who is your coach or your boss or supervised an internship you did that can really speak to you and your interests than from someone who taught a class you're in and can only speak to your academic goals.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So now that we've talked a little bit about like the review process, I wonder if you, Molly, and BK could talk a little bit about what the kind of like admissions process is and like the timeline. So from like the time of like reaching out, what happens for MS and PhD students after they've like reached out to a faculty or applied? BK, from like your experience, what's the path forward for a prospective applicant?
Yeah, so the process for the application submission is you need to, of course, once you find that you have potential advisor, and you need to follow that to do what the required document we have, and as John listed all that together. So once you get submitting everything completed, and those material will be forwarded to the admission committee. And one component we have is something different from other school. Admission committee review the material overall, but also we particularly looking more carefully with the student who has the particular faculty aligned with it. So that's the one thing we also looking into that. And then one more component, the admission committee composition is each department faculty members are participating as a member of committee. and each one of the members review all the material, and we score individually. And then I receive those together, and then I provide my comment and then submitting those to the direct the Linda's office, the Johnson.
The
Okay, so
associate dean.
yeah, academic study, the office of academic study, and that's where the associate dean will make the decision on that to the who's gonna be selected for the move forward to it. And especially we provide the student for first year most of funding for that, for their stipend and tuition. So those very important component to consider.
Molly, I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about what the admissions process moving forward is for MA students. Like what can they expect from submitting to hopefully receiving an offer of admissions?
Okay, so it will probably seem like a little bit of a black box from the time you submit your application until you hear back from us, but there are things happening behind the scene. So once we get your admissions in, we review them and we rank all the admissions against each other. Okay, so we look at just the MAs. Okay, so we rank all the MA applicants against each other. Then we take those to the admissions committee, and the admissions committee reviews those applications, the top ranking ones, and also reviews the rankings. And then those go to the academic studies, the dean of academic studies, and then the decisions are made there based on those rankings on who will get admissions offers. And then you will hear from us, from John, really.
Perfect.
I may add one more thing. Actually, for the MS and PhD, in the middle, while we are reviewing, admission committee reviewing the material, and the faculty who you contact might contact you to have an on-site interview. So we can bring some students to have on-site visit and then have an interview and meeting the faculty members as well as students. And that's another potential while the admission committee is still reviewing your material.
Thank you, BK, for saying that, because that reminds me, we do also do that with the MA students. We do talk to all of the top ranked students to learn more about you and get, a better sense of who you are and what your interests are in the program, and so how you would fit in.
And so from this point that both BK and Molly just brought up is that from the time of it submitting your application, you can most likely expect to have continued conversation with either your prospective advisor if you're in the MS or PhD program, or continuing to hear from me or Molly if you're in the MA program, and having either some on-site interviews and coming to VIMS, or I know a number of faculty are considering focusing a lot more on virtual engagement since we've proven to be fairly successful at it this past couple years. So just know that that's going on. What I'll also plug at this time is at pretty much most points of the application process, you should not drop contact from the individuals too far. If you are applying for prospective labs, make sure you inform your advisor when you've submitted an application, or if you're submitting an application for them, keep them in the loop to be on the lookout for you. And then same for the MA program. Please let me know or Molly know so that we can keep an eye on it. And just have you in the back of our mind. That's always my suggestion, because as Paul and Ali said, faculty and everybody have a lot of emails going back and forth. So making sure that you have a presence in their inbox or on their phone line is an advice that I give. Maybe the advisors don't appreciate it as much, but I say email them, contact them. And also I'll plug at this moment, and I think Paul kind of prompted me a little bit for it, and he can also speak up about it, but I like to consider myself to be a great resource. My whole job is to be about admissions and helping the application process. So please don't ever hesitate to reach out to admissions@vims.edu or to my personal email, which I'll share at the end of this. I'm more than happy to have further discussions about this. So BK and Molly, we have a question in the chat asking, well, I guess this is for BK. For BK, for the MS and PhD program, is a CV or a resume recommended over one another? Or are they both equal? Do you have an opinion from all your review time?
Well, both are fine either way, but one thing is the way what you putting together, just be professional. So we are looking for the more professional way how you put your background in. So you have your own education component, and most important component is if you have anything sticking out, for example, publication, any presentation you did, and also any research experience you have. If you have those, give you a little, just not just listed just a one line, provide some more story, some more detail what you're experiencing it. So that'll be really helpful for us. Uh, Especially when you're looking for the student with the research experience, and we also, of course, looking at reading through the personal statement, but sometimes we cannot really figuring out how much research experience the student have. Something mentioning in your resume and CV said, oh, I was doing this research in 1 year, but there's no detail. And we sometimes find the detail from the letter recommendation. And so then we are kind of putting that the kind of downsizing against your application because student was not doing very well to writing up in your personal statement. So something when you put together somehow synchronize together to see, bring you up to what you did, clearly mentioning it. And another component is we have a new component that for the two statement. One is a personal statement, the other is a contribution. The contribution statement is the one what based on your personal experience. Do not coming out some hypothetical theoretical idea to philosophical story to you gonna put it in, how you're gonna contributing to us. So something based on your personal experience, what you had this experience, you can bring in and share and build stronger VIMS community, something beneficial to us. That's what we're looking for that. There's another question here. Do we need to indicate anywhere on the application whether or not we have applied for the NSF GLFP? Yes, please. That'll be great. And that's good to know. And of course, when you have meeting with your personal advisor, you should mention it. Probably knew that all advance. Even you can actually pass the deadline now, but if you have all your contact with VIMS faculty members, sometimes VIMS faculty member help you to writing up that fellowship application.
Perfect, thank you. And for that question, I would say indicate that in any of your statements or in the resume or CV would be a great place to indicate that you did apply for that. But communicating that to your prospective faculty for MS and PhD students would be a great thing to do as well. And BK, I wonder, Molly talked a little bit about it, and I wonder if you could address what it is that faculty who are recruiting for MS and PhD students are looking for in letters of recommendation. Are they looking for specific types of recommenders or kind of specific areas? What stands out in that aspect of the application for those students?
Yeah, so that's a very important question. So because as our system here is depending on the school, but in our cases, the academic study provide first or second year funding depending on application ranking. And then after that, the funding is coming from each individual advisor. We sign up the agreement to provide the funding until the student graduates. So each student we have is our investment. So which means we have research program. We are actually working with students and by mentoring them and bring them become training them to be independent researcher and professional researcher. But in the other hand, also we take the benefit from you guys work on our project. So which means when you have those letter recommendation, something is highlighted what kind of work you have done, any achievement while you are a student or in other places. And a lot of the most of recommendation actually coming from academic faculty as profession as well. But sometimes if you had a job, something professional job, like a research technician or working on some institute, like a national lab, something, you could ask for a letter from your supervisor, something very specific. So we also like to have some more personal letter. So something more detailed, who you are, describing it, instead of just like a blunt letters of this like technique, very just a dry and bold letter, the boring letter. We'd like to have more detail of the kind of, we can see that this person who recommend you a reference personnel is very well connected with the student.
Perfect. Thank you so much, BK. We have a question here from Amy asking about, will students find out about potential funding at the same time they find out about admissions? And the answer is yes. Admissions offer letters that incoming students receive from the Associate Dean of Academic Studies lay out, no matter the program you're going into, if you are receiving any form of financial aid from either your advisor or from an assistantship or from a TA-ship, anything like that is outlined in your offer letter so that you're very well aware of number of years of funding and amount of funding and any expectations that we have of you, whether or not that's working 20 hours per week in your advisor's lab to help them with their research, or if it's working 10 hours a week in our Office of Research and Advisory Services, making sure that their programming is going efficiently and all of their work is going well. So the offer letter of admission that we create in our office, make sure that we outline that very clearly. Great question. We just got another question, so let's see what this is. If we receive outside funding past the application deadline, how should we inform you? BK?
Then you can tell your potential advisor, and then probably the person, then the faculty member can inform us that we can adding in our review process.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Start with your prospective advisor, or if you're applying for the MA program, let Molly know. And that's the chain of command that will then let my boss, who's the associate dean, know what's going on so that we can make informed decisions that way.
I mean, also, John, you can be the person to receiving that wonderful news.
As well.
Yeah.
There are many ways that you can communicate it. So we're wrapping up very quickly on time. So I would like to just go around really quick and hear from everybody why you think people should be applying to VIMS and coming here. What's like your one piece of advice for people who are leaving this webinar to think about for why we are the best place to be? So Allie, I feel like you've been the most advocating for us on this webinar. So why don't you start it off and let other people think?
Sure. Okay. No time to think myself, but that's all right because I am passionate about VIMS. So why should people apply to VIMS? It's really because we have such a diverse community and such a diverse or varied community and varied amount of research interests. I think no matter if you're going into a research track, maybe the MA program, the MA students I've talked to, there's something for you here at VIMS if you want a career in marine science and whatever that means for you. And if you can find either a part of the MA program that you really like or a faculty advisor that you think can really forward your career goals and really fit your research interests, then not applying to VIMS would be a mistake because I've only been here 2 years. One of those was during COVID, but I've already seen how great the community here at VIMS is and how much they encourage you to be your best self, whether that be a researcher or a student or both, as you are as a graduate student. So I really think it would be a great shot for anyone to apply to VIMS. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great, Allie. Thank you so much. Paul or BK, are you ready to go?
Sure, I can talk. I mean, thank you, Allison. Wonderful to hear. Only a few years you really enjoy being a part of VIMS. So that's good. One thing is, as a faculty member, we are one of the leading marine science institute, research institute. All the faculty members as well as students, we are all together doing great job. And so if you are interested in marine science, not just the science, also we are actually extending to the policy side of it, interdisciplinary. So we have all the faculty members quite collegial, and we work together. And also we heavily dedicate ourselves to mentoring students. So if you're interested in building yourself, being in future career in marine science, we are the right place.
Perfect. Thank you, BK.
Mhm.
Paul, you ready?
Oh yeah, well, I'm gonna try not to just copy those last two answers, but I mean that for me that is a lot of it is VIMS is doing a lot of like the leading cutting edge research, which is amazing. But then the people are so nice. I came in the middle of COVID lockdown, and I was still able to like cold call, email professors I didn't know because I was interested in their work, and their people were very willing. I got to go out on boats, kind of just piggyback on people's projects, and they're willing just to kind of, they're, even if they're not your advisor, they'll show you, they'll talk about collaborations, and I think that it's very common that everyone is willing to collaborate and share and cooperate in between the labs. So on top of that, everybody being super nice, it's just a big, happy research institute.
Yeah, thank you. Molly, why do you think people should come to VIMS and the MA program?
Well, that's a great question, John. I actually looked at many schools both before my master's degree and my PhD, and I chose to come to VIMS twice. So I'm also passionate about VIMS. But I think what's actually really special about VIMS, what's unique about it, is that we are both big enough to have a huge number of opportunities, both within VIMS and also in our connections through the college, which allows that broad interdisciplinary study. But we're also small enough that everything you just heard about how warm and thoughtful people are, we have a small enough community that we can take time with people. And I think that's really what makes VIMS a special and unique place.
All right, well, thank you. So with that, I have just a few final pieces of information to share with all attendees. Also, all the information pretty much that we conveyed here can also be found online. Just go to our School of Marine Science Education webpage, and you'll find a lot of details there. And if you don't find any of those details and you have more individual questions, email me at admissions@vims.edu. I would love to chat with you that way. Also, that's my personal work email, jmgriffin@vims.edu. I'm also happy to chat with you. And there's no question that you have that I'm not willing to take a stab at. So please come. And then also you can find us on social media, either at Twitter or Facebook. Connect with us that way if you love to get this information. If you aren't so much into social media, but are preferring to get a newsletter, we have an e-newsletter that goes out regularly that you can sign up for called e-tidings. So feel free to sign up that way. And this information can be found online as well as through this email. So if you just are always interested in knowing what events VIMS are holding, or what research is currently in progress here at VIMS, e-tidings is a great way to do it. This is the third and final webinar of this fall semester. So I really appreciate everybody who came tonight as an attendee, and all my panelists. I really appreciate all your time. But if you weren't able to attend either the first or the second webinar, lucky for you, we have them recorded and they are online either right now or will be up shortly. Also, the 4 webinars that we held last year are also currently up on the VIMS YouTube. So if you would like to hear from more students, more diverse perspectives, different years, go check out the VIMS YouTube. You'll find this seminar of Inside William & Mary School of Marine Science on the YouTube channel. And you can watch hours worth more of content, and you'll get to hear a lot more from me because I host every one of them. So it's really fun. And with that, I just want to say thank you to my panel. I really appreciate this conversation with you all. Thank you to all of my attendees here. I hope you found this enjoyable and informative, and I really look forward to chatting more with all of you and hopefully seeing your applications for this fall or future fall. So everybody have a great night and take care.